Well, this episode of One Piece was absolutely heartbreaking. In the last episode, we were introduced to a whale called Laboon that had a bunch of scars on its head, and in this episode, we got context as to why exactly this is happening. He's smashing his head onto the red line over and over again. That's how he's got these scars, but the reason he's doing it is tragic. So, 50 years ago, he came to the Grand Line with a pirate crew. He actually thought he was part of the crew. He was meant to be left back in the West Blue, but he ended up following them all the way to the Grand Line, essentially, because, like I said, he believed he was part of their crew, which I think is just adorable. If you see him back then as well, like, Laboon was so small compared to how he is now. He was basically a baby, and just seeing that, mate, it just broke my heart, knowing what was going to happen. But the crew that Laboon came to the Grand Line with ended up going ahead without him because they believed it was too dangerous for him. You know, they were just looking out for him, really, and they promised him within 3 years they would be back. So they got the old man at the light tower to look after him, essentially, you know, the old man we know today. And as we know, it's been 50 years and they haven't returned. And the old man told Laboon that they've left. They left the Grand Line. They're not dead. They ran away, essentially. And in order to try and comfort Laboon, the old man told him, you know, the promise that they kept was genuine. The friendship they had for you was real. But the Grand Line does crazy things to people. You know, it's such an insane environment for people to be in. They just couldn't handle it and they ran away. And unfortunately, Laboon was left behind. And the yell that Laboon lets out, the roar basically, is heartbreaking. It's just like a feeling of pure like anguish and abandonment. It's really sad. It's genuinely, it's just a cry, basically, a cry for these people that he thought were his friends, his crew, these people that he'd been waiting for so many years have abandoned him, and it's fucking heartbreaking, man. And that's why he's bashing his head into this mountain over and over again and crying out, because he still believes that his crew might come back to him. And man, it's heartbreaking, man. It really is. It got me. Like, One Piece has this way of telling these small little stories, these like introducing us to a character, you know, making us like them, and then just ripping our heart out. It has a way of doing that, man, I swear. I want justice for my boy Laboon. Nobody even really did anything wrong. I suppose the crew could have, you know, got Laboon, but again, we don't know what the Grand Line is capable of. The crew could have been driven insane and then had to like leave for whatever reason. You know, there could be a good reason for it, but regardless, I just feel terrible for him. And this old man has been looking after Laboon ever since, making sure he doesn't kill himself from these wounds that he's taken from hitting his head into the mountain. And I love the way that Luffy handled this situation. He handled it in only a way that Luffy could, and that's by starting a fight with Laboon. Like, he's straight up scrapping him. He takes the front of his ship and jams it into Laboon's head, basically, and full on has a fight with him, and tells him to stop, and then says, well, you know, it's a draw, so I'm going to have to come back one day and we're going to have a rematch. And we're going to have to see who's stronger. And it's sort of his way of being like, you know, I'm going to be here. I'm your rival forever now. Even if your crew ditched you, I'm going to be here. You know, and I hope that Luffy keeps his promise. I have faith that he will, but if Luffy doesn't come back for Laboon as well, I'll be heartbroken. But Luffy's a different kind of guy. But again, I just love the way that Luffy handled this situation. It's so indicative of his character. Luffy really does have a heart of gold, man. Like, he's such an awesome protagonist. There was another Luffy moment that I really liked in this episode, where Wednesday and Number 9 needed to go back to their homeland, which is Whiskey Peak is what it's called. That's also the next island we're going to be going to in the Grand Line. I suppose the first island in the Grand Line. And the others are saying, why would we take those guys back there? You know, they're bad. Why are we doing that? And Luffy says, don't worry about the small things. And I love that, because it just goes to show where Luffy's head is at. You know, he's on this grand journey right now to become the king of the pirates. It's this impossible goal that nobody believes he can achieve but him. And he's got such a big, long journey ahead of him. And if he can help some people along the way, that's great. But, you know, he's got such a one-track mind towards that sort of thing. Even if he deems these people as, you know, not the best, Wednesday and Number 9, they haven't done anything, like, egregious. And he's just like, well, if we can help him as we go in, let's do it. You know, might as well. I just think he's such an awesome leader. Like, Luffy is my favorite character, honestly, I think, so far in One Piece. And there's a lot of amazing ones, but Luffy is brilliant. Big part about this episode was learning how to navigate the Grand Line, and that is using something called the log pose. It's essentially the only compass that works in the Grand Line, and it only takes you on a linear path. It's got one of 7 paths. You know, you can start on one of 7 islands, and it always takes you down the same way. So in a way, they're going to be traveling from island to island, and they don't have a choice where they're going. So previous pirates that have come before them would have done the same routes that they're doing, but some of them, or none of them, have gotten to the end of it, which is an island called Raftel, where Gold Roger is known to have been, and potentially where the One Piece could be. So this is really exciting. I love the fact that it's like almost like a linear adventure that has been explored before, but is completely new to us. And who knows what it actually holds and what islands we're going to be visiting. I'm really excited about the Grand Line. I think it's such a cool concept, and I can't wait to see Luffy's crew explore it and meet all these new characters and all this stuff. It is really exciting to me. But yeah, that was this episode. Some really heartbreaking moments, some really great moments. Luffy better return to Laboon or I'm going to be upset. And yeah, I can't wait to start traveling the Grand Line with Luffy's crew. I'm buzzing. So let's do it.